Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 98 of the Rent to Rent Success podcast. I am here today with Mr. Samuel Fongho. He is the man who knows everything there is to know about property auctions. He's a property investor. He's a property auction specialist who helps people build profitable portfolios. He's host of the London Property Question Time, and he's knowledgeable about every asset class from single lets to HMOs to commercials. So if you're looking to buy or to sell, he's the man. And if you're looking to build a thoughtful portfolio, he's also the man. We will hear more about that as we delve into today's episode. Welcome to the show, Samuel Fongho.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor to be on your platform today.
Yeah, well, I've gotten to know you more. I knew of you before through London Property Question Time, but I've gotten to know you more since we've been on Clubhouse, and I've been bowled over by you're very humble, but you're so knowledgeable on property, having assessed and valued hundreds, if not thousands, of properties, worked with hundreds of investors over the years. You really are. You really are one of the supreme experts on auctions in the UK. But before we delve into some of that today, I want to go into your story because property's really played a pivotal part in your life and in your family's lives. So tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Yes. Quite interestingly, property is one of those things like I sometimes say, people get very educated now and then they struggle to get started. I started in property really without thinking. My first acquisition, which is in Camden Town, was when I finished, graduated from university, started working, rented a property, and then within a couple of months, I understand the estate agent told me they would need to be doing viewings because it's being sold. And I just said, "Oh, we've only just moved in. Do we have to move out?" And he said, "No, because it's really mostly investors." To cut a long story short, and I asked, then he said to me, "Oh, how much do I earn?" And I told him, and I had a very good job at Goldman Sachs. Then, and he said, "Yeah, why don't I process a mortgage for you to buy it?" And I said, "Really?" And I gave him my paperwork, and within a few weeks, he says, "Oh, I now own it." I didn't make any offer. I didn't even ask him how much we were selling it for. So I bought the property, a 2-bedroom in Camden, and then so that changed me from being a tenant to being a property owner with my friend that we're renting together. So he became a lodger for me. So I just got into a property without doing without any knowledge, without me making any offer. I just accepted the price he gave me, and that's how I got into the first property. And then of course, met my partner, and then when we had our first child, we decided to move to Edgware. Then I didn't want to stay in Camden Town for my daughter, so we moved to as soon as she was born, we moved to Edgware and then rented that property out. And then from Edgware, we went up to Manchester, bought quite a few properties. Then I was at this stage I was still in IT. I was an IT contractor, and then probably about 10 years ago, I decided to move into property for full time. But yeah, so it's been then building up a portfolio as an IT contractor, moving into property full time about 10 years ago. At this stage, I made that decision to put my kids all through private education, most importantly through boarding school, which is very expensive. So what I had to do then is, apart from building up portfolios from other people, as a consultant making commission, you don't make enough to pay that fee. So I sold most of my own properties to actually fund that education. But now they're all finished, gone to university, so it's a lot lower overheads for me. So I'm going to go back to building my own personal portfolio again. But I think today it's a lot more about what I can do for others. So that's, in a nutshell, that's my story, my personal story.
Yeah, well, I am really fascinated by people's stories, and I'm really fascinated by what property can do for people. Now, we heard in last week's episode, we were talking to Bronwyn Burncombe. She's used it to travel the world. She's living overseas. In the moment, she's in Africa. working, volunteering, and just living the life of her dreams. And for you, your dream was different. Your dream was to send your children to a very prestigious UK boarding school. And all three of them have gone through that now and passed out the other side. And property has helped you to fulfill that dream. So thank you for sharing that story with us. And for anyone listening, property can help you fulfill whatever dream you have in your life as well, no matter what your starting point is. But let's go into the auction. First of all, Sam, a lot of people are a bit scared of auctions. So tell us about where is the opportunity in auction? Why should we be interested in buying properties through auction?
Yes, property auctions is a field. Well, it's a field that I'm very passionate on about, and just for the records, it's important to know that the auction industry or the auction is only 1% of the property industry. It's not a law, so most of the properties still get transacted through the private estate agency. So, however, the key advantages of an auction is that you have a committed buyer and a committed seller. Most often you have people through estate agents that maybe they're trying the market. Let me put it in and see if I get the right offer, I'll sell. You don't get those kind of vendors at auction, because at auction, the key is that this vendor is committed. Above a certain number, they cannot say no. So if you're looking to buy property and you don't want any time wasters, that's where, or you're looking to sell as well, the auctions are the place to go. Auctions are a great opportunity if you actually know what you're looking for. And it can be one of the things I always say is that auctions are not for kids, they're for adults. So you need to know, it's, for me, the auction is like being a gladiator. Basically, you got a sword and you got a shield, and you need to learn how to use both when you come in. And if you can actually manage your sword and your shield together, you'll come out alive.
Wow. So you got to go in there fighting then, Sam, as a gladiator.
Absolutely. You got a knife and a sword. There's so much diamonds and gold littering the ground, but you need to make sure you can defend your position and be able to pick up the diamonds and the golds off the floor.
Yeah. So there's so much opportunity in there, Sam. Tell me about one of your biggest challenges as an auctioneer.
Yeah, as an auctioneer, there are quite a few challenges actually. As an auction expert or auction, really for me as an auctioneer, my daily duties are really valuing properties, either to sell on the behalf of clients or to acquire on the behalf of clients. And the challenges are on both sides of the coin. In terms of selling on the behalf of clients, one of the difficult aspect of an auction is that if you look at an estate agent, let's take a proverbial property that's 100,000. When you walk into an estate agent, they might say, we'll put it on the market for 120 and then see if we get 100. You say, fine, because there's a safety net there. And then you move to the next estate agent, they say, let's put it on the market for 125 and then see what offers we get. So you know it's overpriced, but you expect an offer. Flip it. When you come to an auction company, like myself, an auctioneer, and I'll say to you, your property is worth 100,000. Let's guide it 75,000 to bring in interest, and then reserve it at 85, so it can sell at 86. So you need to be brave to take that risk. I need to be strong, charismatic, and be able to convince you to come on board. So for every single property you see at auction, there are 10 or 20 more that could not make it, because auctioneers will not take a property for the sake of taking it. If you do not price it low to make it attractive for someone to come in, we're not going to take it on. So the main challenge in taking properties to auction to sell is the valuation process. That ability to impact and talk to the vendors and get them to sign up their property, give you the right to sell it below market value if it's not marketed well or if there's not enough interest. So it's a very difficult and challenging aspect to bring people to the table on that. So that's the first challenge that we have, is valuing properties. and then that's on the side of selling. Then on the acquisition side, you or a client can come to me that they want to buy property, they want to build a portfolio, so I need to look through, pick up the best properties for them. Now on, I now have to get them ready to go bid. That aspect of it is slightly easier because the person has come to you and your client tells you what they're looking for. But where it's a bit more challenging is where my non-hobby is looking through auction catalogs. So I would watch through everything that's going for sale, look through the legal packs, looking for challenges, because the opportunity in auction is looking for a challenge. So once I've found a property that I think, wow, this is a property that has so much problems. So while people are looking for properties with no problem, I'm looking for ones with a problem, because I know I have the skill to solve that problem. So there's not going to be any competition. Having identified a property that I think this property is 150,000 below value because of this problem, and I know how to solve it. My challenge now is, one, if I cannot buy it, because there's some properties I cannot take out of auction. It could be that it's a repossession. It could be that it's from it's a probate. So you have to go and bid in the room. So my challenge in those circumstances is, amongst my 40,000 clients, is to pick the one person. It's like a horse race where you can only put one horse in, and you've got a big stable full of horses. You want to put one in that would be bullish as much as I am. So that's always a challenge to identify. If you take the wrong horse, you end up not winning, not because of you, but because the horse is just not able to jump the fences with you.
Yeah.
I hope my horse racing analogy works.
Yeah, I think it works. So what you're saying, Sam, is that you are in the position where you've got these amazing opportunities. You spotted a property with the right problems that you know you can solve. And you've got lots of buyers, people, property investors like us who want to buy that property. And you have to select one buyer out of all the many available to you to present this opportunity to put forward for the opportunity.
Absolutely, because what you don't want to do is create competition between your clients. So if I'm listed to sell, because if I'm selling the property, then the vendor is my client. So I can then send it to everyone, create competition, the winner wins it. But if I'm going to acquire, the client's paying me, so I cannot create competition between my clients. So I need to pick one person and then see that person through the journey. And of course, you can't push them if they're not bullish about the lot. You need to look for someone that's as bullish. I mean, I currently have one lot in my thinking. After this interview, I'll be going up with a client, and it's taken me quite a few days to find someone that is even a lot more excited about the lot than myself. So he is a perfect person that I'm taking along with me to see this one today.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. So people who are bullish about buying, who want to buy, because you're, well, let's talk about the location, Sam. You're all over, aren't you?
Yes, we see the way the auction industry works. There's some auction companies that are regional auctions. So if you go to Auction House South Yorkshire, they would only deal with properties around South Yorkshire. If you gave them a property in Liverpool, they would say, "Oh no, we don't cover Liverpool." But when it comes to London, the auctioneers in London, we call ourselves national auctioneers. So we look at properties across the UK. So for me, in fact, today, first thing this morning, I was valuing properties in Doncaster. I mean, properties that are worth just a yield. There's absolutely no, you're looking at houses for 30, 40,000. And I've been valuing properties in the Barbican Centre for 750 for a one-bedroom flat. I've been valuing properties in Kensington today. So my day-to-day is very, very, very varied. So from dealing with high net worth properties to the very, very low end of the properties in the northeast of England. So it's a very varied road I have.
Yeah, I really like that. Let's just take an aside. Is it worth, because before I go on to the next thing, I'm just curious myself. Is it worth buying these 30, 40K properties in Doncaster? You hear very mixed reviews on this.
That's a very interesting question to ask, because I have a strong opinion about those properties. One, you see, the properties up the northeast of England, they are I only value them on the yield basis, because the brick and mortar, really you cannot use that value for anything. It's really the yield, because apart from the brick and mortar value not being very useful, it's really the tenants. And when I value them, I use the LHA rates. I always assume that the tenant will be social tenant, to give me a yardstick to value those properties. Are they worth buying? I think if you're going to go to the northeast and build a portfolio of many properties, then it's worth a while. Because if you look at if you buy a property in the northeast for 12% yield, which you can get 14% yield, and that rent is £400 or £350, because they're not very high rents. It just takes one bad tenant to clear away your profit for a year or two, where you go to court or you go up north. Whereas in London, you can have a bad tenant and it might take away your rents for a month or two. So you have to go up north, and you have to be wider. You have to actually go for a portfolio, have more properties to make it worth a while. If you travel up north for some issue and you stay in a hotel, that's probably your profit for a few months. So you need to have to scale up if you have to be in that market. However, I see the opportunity up north, because what's happening is that the government departments in London that are relocating to the northeast. There's free ports that have been opened in that northeast coast. And one of the things that I say to people is that if you look at your building insurance, if you live in the southeast of England, if you buy a property for 500,000 and you look on the building insurance, your rebuild cost, reinstatement cost, there's a section on the insurance that says reinstatement cost will be about 250, almost half the value that you paid for the property. But what that means is that if a tree fell on your house, it will cost half the value to build it up, because your property, the brick and mortar, is not worth how much you paid for it. Flip it to the northeast of England. If you go to the northeast of England, if you buy a property for 40,000 or 30,000 as those properties go, if you look on the insurance, the rebuild cost is maybe 80,000, is double the price you paid for it. So what that means is that if a tree falls on your property, the insurance company is better off buying a different property for you than building it back. They'll rather just leave it. So because the cost of building a property in the northeast is lower than an existing house, what will happen is that due to demand and supply, when there will be not enough houses in that area, people have to build, because right now it's not viable to build a property. When they start building, the property values would then shoot up. So the only way is up for the northeast, but it might be in 5 years, in 10 years. It depends on how long a view you take. But if you're a short-term person, if your horizon is too short, then northeast is not for you. But you need to be looking long-term to go up north for this to crystallize in terms of. Okay, I hope that helps.
Yeah, it did. It really did. It's like the answer to many questions. You need to have the right, a longer term view, and you need to have the right experience, the right knowledge to know where to buy for the type of management that you have, because you need to have experienced management. That's one of the secrets, I'm guessing, to success.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the problems, because you said the opportunity, all the diamonds and the golds, as we're going in there with our gladiator sword and shield, is there. And more so if you can identify the right problems and know how to solve them. So I'd love to talk about what are the right problems?
Okay, one of the big or an easy problem that you can easily solve is when you look through a legal pack, say especially in London, you have properties that have short leases. So I think one of the case studies that I shared a few times is where you bring the skills to acquire a property that has a short lease, maybe bridging. You can use bridging, or you can use other techniques of working with the vendor. The moment that you actually solve the problem by increasing that lease, you can find yourself actually refinancing without leaving any money in. So that's a BRRR, like I always say, with your hands in your pocket. So you haven't had to dig a foundation or change a room or move a kitchen. All you've done is probably put your hands in your pocket, give your accountant your bank PIN number to pull out money and get it done for you. So really, you've got your money to do the work for you without you moving a finger, literally. So that is one of the quickest kind of gain that you can make from auction, because those kind of opportunities, they require cash buyers or more creative buyers. So the vendors would take them to auction. The next one is probably where there might be a tenancy situation, or maybe someone that's about to retire. They've had tenants for a long time, and they want to sell with the tenants in situ. They just haven't got time to take the tenants out. You can buy and then maybe solve that problem, get that done, get the tenants out, and maybe add value to the problem, to the property. Then you might have structural issues as well, where you can have a look at it and then you know how to actually solve the problems with the property. Or in some cases, it's just a family or a vendor that has been messed around through the estate agency route. Maybe they've tried to sell 3 or 4 times, because about more than 40% of property sales to estate agents actually fall through. So if someone has gone to 2 or 3 of those and they need to sell, so they'll drop it in and they want a quick buyer. So there are lots of opportunities on every kind of property at auctions.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I love that you gave 3 examples there of opportunities, problems that for you are opportunities. So short leases, where you've got tenants in situ, where you've got structural issues, and motivated buyers, or sellers, but you don't always know that. Unless you can see, you can trace the history of the property, can't you? And see
Absolutely. Yeah.
where it's been. So what are the secrets to success when it comes to auctions? Many of us are a little bit gun shy about auctions. What do you think are the secrets to success?
I think most people are scared of auctions because they don't know what they don't know, in the sense that when you hear the scary stories, say, oh, they're hidden charges. Nothing is hidden unless you're not able to read, because everything is open if you read. So I think the best way to get the best deals out of auction is either to educate yourself or work with someone that understands what they're doing for you. Someone that actually understands the how to look at opportunity. Because the key thing there is looking at the legal pack. Because what tends to happen, the key difference between an auction and an estate agent is that you walk into an estate agent office and they say to you, we're selling number 7 Billingly or some street. You go in, you look at it, you like the color of the paint on the wall, you say, yes, I'll buy it. If you're like me, my first property, you say, yes, I'll buy it at the asking price. You have absolutely to make no offer. Then you then buy it. The next step, they ask you for your solicitor's name and email, and then they have the vendor solicitor name and email. They introduce them by sales memorandum, and then the solicitor then start asking, oh, by the way, what's my client buying? Then the solicitor then look at it, see, oh, is there a leasehold, is there a freehold? You didn't even ask all those questions, right? You just say yes. So your solicitor will take 3. That's why a private treaty takes 3 to 4 months, because solicitors have a way of asking things piece by piece. No, they'll ask one after the other piecemeal. So they will ask for, is it freehold or leasehold? And they ask a few more questions. How long is the lease? That can take 3 months to go to and fro. But with an auction lot, you come in, you look at the property. If you like it, there's a legal pack which tells you everything about the property. So by the time you make an offer, you have to pay 10% on exchange. So that, to be able to do that, so what your solicitor does in 3-4 months, you want someone that can do it for you in an hour or 2. That's where we come in. So we can do that in 1 or 2 hours to decide if that property is a good one for you. What are the opportunities? What are the charges in the legal pack? And there's this document called the special condition, which is almost a controlling document within a legal pack. So the first thing that we need to look at is look at the special condition document. What are the constraints? What are the opportunities? Just that single document will tell you what to expect in the rest of the legal pack.
Yes. Oh, so much gold in there. And you said two things: either educate yourself or work with someone who knows. And those are the important informations, because there's so much opportunity in auctions, but also people can lose a lot of money in auction by not reading the legal pack and buying a duff one. Now, I know that you have many, 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 many case studies of what people can do, and examples of the opportunities that people have seen from auctions. But I wonder if you could tell us about one today.
Yes. I think I briefly mentioned the one that had a short list. That is one that it's quite, they're quite common in London because there are lots of short lists. We deal with residential and commercial properties, and the next opportunity that you have in auctions, which is fantastic most of the time, is repossessed properties. With repossession, there are two types of repossessed properties, two types of people that are being repossessed. The first type is someone that has run their course. They owe, they have a loan against a property they cannot pay, and they've come to terms with the fact that they cannot pay and they've given up. What will happen is that they will work with the receivers to make sure the property is sold to the best of their ability, right? So that there's an opportunity there, but it's not as big an opportunity. So that's type one person, the person that knows they have a problem and they've given in. Type two is the person that has a problem and they think they can solve it, or they haven't come to terms with that problem. They don't want that property to be taken because they feel very attached to that property. So they keep thinking, I'm going to pay this debt before that auction day. They would, by default, refuse to give as much information to the receiver. What tends to happen is that the legal pack will be scanty. There will be nothing in the legal pack, or you see the auction lot is written like tenant unknown, cash flow unknown. Absolutely. That's what I call a toxic lot. And I love those ones. And what will happen is that when you see those ones, you know that everyone would stay away from it. So that's where you need to put your Inspector Colombo hat on and your coat, get a newspaper under your armpit, and do some work on it. Go around, investigate the missing link. You have to build up the missing link, and that's where you make money, because no one else will be interested in that lot. And that's one of those kind of laws. I'll just say to you that from finishing this interview, I'm going to see one of those with a client of mine. So those are the kind of lots that you can buy unchallenged, because unless someone has your knowledge or is brave enough as you are, any normal person would not touch that kind of auction lot, because you don't want to buy a property without knowing who is in there. You don't know what they're paying, so you don't. So unless you have the skills on your side, you're not going to touch that kind of lots. But those are the kind of lots that we strive on. Like I said earlier, for me, the system I use, EIG, which is the key listing system for all auction lots. I go through every single auction in the UK. I will read through every single one and look at the legal pack to see where the problems are. Unlike you that would maybe say, okay, I live in Wales, I'm going to look at the lots in my patch. For me, England, the UK, that's my patch.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why you've got so much knowledge. We were saying the other day that you would know so much more than the average solicitor about the legal packs. We get asked all sorts of questions that you think, well, doesn't the solicitor know that? And actually, in many cases, they don't. So a great wealth of information. Now, I know that you used to and do some workshops, which were phenomenal, on giving people the basics of how to understand the legal pack and the basics of how to buy, well, beyond the basics, actually, of how to buy at auction. So can people contact you about that, Sam?
Absolutely. We run workshops and then regular Zoom events to educate people, to demystify the auction space itself, so that people can come. They can email me, sam@midas mydadspropertygroup.co.uk, or just go to mydadspropertygroup.co.uk and look at upcoming events where they can get the events that are coming up.
And also, if you are trying to sell a property, but more so if you're trying to build your portfolio and looking at for a certain specific types of property, Sam is skilled in helping you to build your portfolio. And I'd love you to talk us, Sam, what's the difference between sourcing and acquisitions? Because you help people with acquisition.
That's right. I think that's a very key question, because I always say to people, we're not a sourcing agency, or we're not sourcers. We are acquisitions. Well, I mean, it's a much better sounding name, so you can charge a bit more. But no, that's on a lighter note. On a more serious note, a sourcer is someone that says, I can bring you a property that you cannot find. I can bring you something that you cannot see by yourself, or they think, oh, I've got this arranged for you, and this is the opportunity, and no one else but me has it. And I think that's where sourcers say that USP is. They're bringing something you cannot find. But an acquisition agency or consultancy is your front office. You have a podcast to run, you have your portfolio to run. You haven't got time to negotiate a property that's probably about 2 streets away from your home, but you have an acquisition agency or consultancy that's a front office. So some of my clients will actually they would see the property by themselves and then call and then send it to me to actually analyze or maybe negotiate on their behalf. So we don't claim to bring you properties that are off market. We bring you properties that are on the market. It could be at auctions, it could be on Zoopla, but you just haven't got the time to do it yourself. So our typical client is someone that has a mindset that they want to leverage off your time. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter where you bring the property from, they would actually acquire if it's a good opportunity, as opposed to someone that says, well, this property is from an auction company. I would have seen it myself, but you haven't got enough time to look through every single source as we do. So in my nutshell, a sourcer is someone that conjures and brings a property that you will never find by yourself. An acquisition consultancy is your front office. They're just doing things that you could do by yourself, but you just haven't got time or the knowledge to do it. You're using that time and knowledge.
Yeah, and that's important, because for every offer you put in, you sometimes you'll go to negotiation, and most of those will not result in a purchase. So when you've got the acquisitions consultant like yourself, someone like yourself and your team, first of all, you're experienced in negotiation, so you're more likely to be a better negotiator, and you can go through that process for all the ones that fall out of bed. And with you, I guess they're more likely to stay in bed and complete.
Absolutely. And for us, what I tend to say to clients is that at times it's not just about the price. At times it's the deal. There are times when I've got clients to pay a bit more for a property than the vendor is asking for. It sounds a bit crazy that I'm being paid to ask you to pay more for a property. Take, for instance, like the case study that I shared in Ealing for a property that we took out of auction. The vendor would happily have let us have it for 280, but I got my clients to offer them more, 285. And really? Oh, after I accepted 280, yeah, we'll pay you 285. Don't worry about that. Oh, really? Wow. Why? And the good thing of having a middle person is that I can sound the vendor to see what can be possible. And then I say, okay, we're going to pay you a bit more, but we're going to exchange immediately with 10%. You pull it out of auction, we delay the completion for about 4 or 5 months or sooner. Oh, really? And then now, having given them a bit more than they're asking for, they're going to say, yes, let's do it. And then, especially on this occasion, they were actually using the property as a service accommodation, so they can make more money for the 3 months. And I said to them, you can continue to use it for the service accommodation for 3-4 months. You'll make more money from it while we do what we want to do. And what we then did between the exchange, before completion, we extended the lease So at completion, it was now at a full price. We were buying it for 285, but by the time we completed that property, an identical one was on with an estate agent not far from there at about 430, 440. So we've added value to the property before completion. So you need a middle person in there to do this sort of negotiation. And then you have a case as well where auction companies have a massive database. They cannot negotiate with every single person off the street. But when I call them, they know me. So I can, on your behalf, they can talk to me and I can call and say, oh, what's the lowdown on this lot? So I can get some background information that you might not see from just looking at the lot itself or looking within the legal pack.
Oh, wow. So many nuggets in all that. First of all, the ideas. So a buyer may not have had that idea. Let me offer 285, 5K more than they wanted, but let me get exchange with delayed completion. And let me also extend the lease beforehand and let the buyer be absolutely delighted because they can continue to make money. They're getting 5K more, but it really works for both parties. So paying alone for that idea is amazing. The second thing that came to my mind was you help people get more offers accepted, because with that strategy you came up there, you put all the competition out of the water and you got your client's offer accepted. And the final thing that came to my mind while you were speaking is that whereas we as the investor may be buying, a few properties a year, we may not have that relationship with a specific estate agent. But whereas you buying, I don't know, hundreds of properties, maybe more a year, you have that relationship with the agents that money can't buy because they're going to speak to you because they know who you are.
Exactly. Same to all the auctioneers, they hear from me all the time. The local estate agents and estate agents in Doncaster, they hear from me. And that, again, in fact, coming back to the solicitor bit as well, that's where, as much as I talk against solicitors, they're my good friends, we have a love-hate relationship. I read legal packs all the time. Some auctioneers, some solicitors, maybe they might do one auction lot a year or two. So they're not used to legal packs. So all due respect to them, at times they're a bit rusty because some of them is the first time they're doing auctions. So they need my guidance. But of course, I, not being a solicitor, I need the indemnity insurance to confirm it. So even when I'm happy with the lot, I still need to a solicitor to actually rubber stamp it, because that way, if I miss anything, it will be their fault before they are out. So I always need to get my clients to employ a solicitor, not me saying, bye, we have to still do that. Yes, and it's the same on the same token, because I deal with all the auction companies, especially I put in properties, because auctioneers need stock. So do you a favor, because you bring them stock as well to sell. So when you have to buy something out of that auction company, they go out of their way to support you, do that as well.
Brilliant. So fantastic service. And I've really learned a lot today. There were some of the nuances I was unaware of. So it's been phenomenal having you on, sharing your knowledge. Is there anything that you would like to leave people with as we draw to a close today, or that I haven't asked you about you'd like to share, Sam?
I think if there's anything that you haven't asked me, it's really, I think the auctions which we've discussed, are an excellent opportunity. There are opportunities to be had at auctions. However, you need to either be educated, which it might distract you from what you do, or use services like ours, where we are always scanning the market. We can actually come to you, understand your needs, your requirements, and then maybe make suggestions beyond what you were actually thinking of as well. So that's why we call ourselves a consultancy, because we would actually make suggestions to you, probably much more than what you were actually thinking of, and we can actually bring opportunities to you before you actually think of what those opportunities are. And we look forward to serving your audience.
Brilliant. So if you're looking If you're looking to grow your portfolio, or if you are interested in a workshop to learn yourself about how to analyze the auction packs, then do contact Sam. I've put if you're watching on the website, it's at renttoRentSuccess.com/98 for episode 98, and you'll see the video there. And we've got midaspropertygroup.co.uk is a great place to find Sam. Also, you can message him on Instagram at Samuel Fongho, Fongho. Get in touch with Sam. So thank you so much for watching and for listening. Thank you so much, Sam, for coming on the show today, sharing your incredible auction knowledge with us. So remember, until next week, believe bigger, be bolder, be a game changer. See you again soon. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
You're welcome.